Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Puck on the Parkway, our fourth episode of our second season in charge. And it's the first episode where we've got a full slate of 2024-25 NHL games behind us. The Devils out to a 5-2 start. But before we break down everything that's on the ice, let's get some introductions. I'm James Burley, joined by Daniel Rebane. Daniel, I will see you in person tomorrow night in New Jersey, but virtually, how you doing, man?
I'm doing okay. Just had my 27th birthday, so shout out to everybody that sent me some birthday wishes. The Mets didn't send me any birthday wishes. They actually, took a big crap on my chest, basically, putting up no runs in game three. So we'll see what they do tonight. Tonight's Friday, game five. They're down 3-1 in the series to the Dodgers. But you know what? Let's get to some hockey because we don't want to be depressed anymore. So, on to the Devils. The Devils are looking good, I'll say that.
Well, you had to bring up the Mets, and it's bumming me out too. But they've inspired us all year. Maybe they'll inspire us a little more tonight. But let's talk New Jersey. 5-2 start to the season. Their only two losses, though, coming at the hands of the Maple Leafs and Hurricanes. And if you look at the five teams that they've beaten, let's just be honest: the Sabres twice, the Capitals, the Senators, and who am I missing in there? Utah Hockey Club.
Utah's
So
good.
Utah has off to a good start of the season, but we caught them at the end of their road trip to New York, so probably were a bit fatigued against us. And let's just face it, the Devils have been good, but there's another level they need to reach at this
Yeah.
point. So we're going to talk about all that. Most recently, a 3-1 win on the road at Ottawa. They've now beaten both of their coaches from last year, Lindy Ruff in Buffalo and Travis Green for the Senators. So, yeah, overall, your impressions of the start, Dan.
I would say, I feel like we've gotten what we've expected so far. Obviously, you said there's definitely another level that they can take it, especially against those teams that they're going to be looking to battle against for with these playoff positions, like a Carolina. I mean, um, let's just first talk about the Ottawa game. They came out a bit sluggish in that first period, looking to get their feet under them, and Jacob Markstrom. I just want to say, what a start to the season for him. He might have had a little bit of rough stuff against the Maple Leafs, but every game since then he's been up to the task and he kept them in that game and we saw in the second period they finally, opened the floodgates. Eric Haula getting his first of the season, Nate Bastian getting his first of the season, shorthanded, might I say. And then, they got that third goal from Paul Cotter in the third period, and they basically shut it down from there. Couldn't get the shutout, but I've liked what I've seen from the Devils not playing down to their opponents this year. They're getting the results that they should be getting so far this season, and they're 5-2. Um, I've liked what I've seen, but we'll see where they go from here. They get Washington next, so
Yeah, a team that they've already beaten, and they did it from come from behind fashion. Just one thing that I will highlight before we take a look more closely at that Ottawa game, just because it was the most recent one.
mm,
Against the Maple Leafs and against the Hurricanes, they were chasing those games.
yeah,
Not for a second did they ever really look like they had any business forcing
no,
overtime or getting a point out of it, at least getting a point out of it, getting a win. There is a clear level of separation between those two teams. But in every other game, for the most part, the Devils have kind of controlled the pace of play and have dictated the tempo, and that's what
yeah.
they want to do, right? With all their skillful players and their fast forwards that can dominate the game in the neutral zone and keep the puck in the offensive zone. And another thing that I've noticed, just to keep it negative for the moment, is how much this team has struggled to get the puck out of their own zone. Sometimes there have been a lot of
They
games
usually always
that
struggle with that though, so
this is true. This is not a team that is always comfortable playing in their own end, but I have noticed that this year especially there has been some confusion with getting the puck out of their own zone. They've been pinned a lot, and most of that has come from really the fourth line of Curtis Lazar, Nate
yeah.
Bastian, and most recently and most consistently this season, Andre Palat. Although I'm not sure what the team is going to do with these forward pairings, but we'll get to that in a moment. 3-1 win on the road in Ottawa. Yes, they started slow. It's been a bit of a theme they've started games either really, really hot or really, really slowly and have
Yep.
had to catch up. But that's something that the Devils have done for a little while. Are you concerned at all that that pattern may be continuing here, or is that just the nature of this team?
Um, I don't know. Like, there's some games where they come out really hot, and then there's some games where they come out slow, like they did last night. I feel like it helps that they kind of have two goalies that could kind of weather that storm for them in that first period before they start heating up in the second, like they did against Ottawa. But we'll see if this continues in a bigger sample size. Obviously, it is 7 games. That's kind of a decent sample size, I guess, maybe if you want to
Yeah.
say. But I say if you get to a fourth of the season and that's still kind of happening, I think maybe Sheldon Keefe's got to you know I don't know. Maybe it is just the nature of this team, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes going forward. Right now, I'm not too nervous about that.
Yeah, I think there's one thing to highlight that's been a big positive. It's the fact that the defense has been so stingy that even if they do uh, see passages of play go against them, they're going to get bailed out. They got a good goaltender back there, and they've got a stronger blue line than they've had in a while, conceding one or fewer goals in 4 games. Jake Allen picking up his first shutout as a New Jersey Devil against the Utah Hockey Club, and he became the first goaltender in NHL history to win against 33 different franchises, which is
Yeah.
an incredibly cool statistic. And some people, like I remember the NHL posting that and saying, name a team that Jake Allen hasn't beat. You can't. I'm like, well, there are older NHL teams that existed before
Atlanta
he entered the
Thrashers,
league.
yeah, he didn't
The
beat the Thrashers.
Thrashers didn't beat the Montreal Maroons or the Seattle Metropolitan. And there's enough. There's enough. The California Seals. We can keep going, but there's a lot of NHL teams that he didn't beat, but he beat more than any other goaltender, which says something. So the Devils having 2 reliable goaltenders back there is a big deal, and
Yeah.
it's something that they haven't had in a long time. So the fact that that's keeping them in games is something special. Even against Carolina, where they were completely dominated that whole game. Markstrom was a big part of the reason that it was 3-2 for as long as, or to as close as it was. I mean, that five
Yeah.
on three power play at the end, one of those calls a bit lucky, but they end up bringing it back closely, and that's what having a good goaltender can do. They're going to have a chance to win every night because of one of these guys, and that is something that they couldn't have said in 2023-24. So absolutely a step in the right direction. And I'm titling this episode "The New Guys Shine to Start" because we've talked about Markstrom there, and we're going to talk a little bit about goaltending in general. I mean, we just touched on it, so we can start there. But a lot of new guys, new faces for this Devils team are really starting to be the standouts. Of course, Hughes, Bratt, Meyer, Hischier are all guys that you can rely upon, and they've had their moments. Dougie Hamilton got his first point of the season in Game 7 in Ottawa. But really, the guys who have been pushing the needle more than anything has been Paul Cotter, who leads the team in goals, Jonathan Kovacevic on the blue line, Seamus Casey, who has come out of the gates and has started his NHL career with a bang. Then you've got the goaltender Jacob Markstrom. He's new as well. And Stefan Noesen, who we've seen before, has come back and been almost a point per game player to start this year. There's a lot of different guys that you could pinpoint and say their presence in this team has caused the Devils to take a tick in the right direction. So for me, I'm happy with all of these new guys. I think Cotter has got to be the one who's the most impressive because not only has he been providing the goals, but he's been providing the physicality, averaging at least around 3 hits a game with 20 hits in 7 games. And the Devils have been bullying teams physically, which is something they never did before.
Yeah, I mean, I think we brought up that stat, pre-show. You want to read that stat that we kind of compiled together, the comparison from last year to this year, hits wise?
Yeah, the Devils had a total of 1,668 hits last season, which is about 20 or so a game. And then the Devils hits in just 7 games across 2024-25, albeit a small sample size, about 25.7 hits a game. I mean, that's an increase of about 25% there across just 7 games. And you could say it's early that there hasn't been enough time those numbers could even out, and that's very well possible. But the fact that they're coming out of the gates playing this way seems to me like it's a very intentional part of their style. I mean, they brought guys in like Paul Cotter, like Stefan Noesen to be more physical presences up front, and then you've got Brendan Dillon on the blue line, who is an absolute monster back there. So this is clearly an intentional design from Tom Fitzgerald, and I think it's made the Devils a better team that now they have another dimension added to their game. Is there a conversation that we could have down the line where this team's not skating enough? Potentially. I haven't seen that yet. I don't know if you'd agree with that,
No,
Dan. This
no.
team still wants to play like the Devils of the past couple seasons, but they've just added a little bit more brawn to their skill, and I think that's only a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times last year we were just, clamoring for, just be a bit more physical, man. Just step up for your teammates, We're not saying fight every time. We're not saying throw a hit every time, but just show the other team, the opposition that,
Finish
you're
more
not,
checks.
yeah, you're not gonna take any, BS anymore. Just throw your body around. And we've seen that from top to bottom. I mean, Jesper Brash throwing hits. Paul Cotter's throwing hits. Like we've seen everybody top to bottom throw hits. And I think that's just a good thing, that just shows that everybody's kind of together this year a bit more. I don't know what it was last year, but it just seemed like there was a disconnect from the players for whatever reason. I don't know what was going on in the locker room, but something was missing. And so far this year, it looks like everybody's with each other, and I've liked what I've seen. You bring up the skating; they look like they're skating still. They're just being more physical, and that's a sight that most Devil fans haven't seen for a while.
Yeah, and that's just from the physicality side of it. Let's talk about some of these newer guys again and just what the numbers offensively look like. Paul Cotter's got 5 goals in 7 games. I don't know who in their right mind thought that he would be not only starting the season like that, but playing so well that he's earned time on Jack Hughes's line. And I considering how poorly that fourth line was getting victimized in its own defensive zone and how Jack Hughes has kind of needed to get a little push out of the gate in terms of offensive production. Uh, Putting Paul Cotter on his line just made a lot of sense. I mean, that's a decision that I would give Sheldon Keefe some credit for. He's also a new face who's done a pretty good job to start the season, implementing that idea of physicality being a priority, of jumbling these lines. I think he found a home really for Palat on that fourth line. I think that dropping him deeper into the roster made sense with the amount of production that he was providing, or unfortunately lack thereof. And I think that emphasizing Cotter as a speedy winger who can throw the body makes sense to kind of play him next to Jack Hughes. This is a guy who I think has started the season brilliantly. We're going to talk about some of the blue liners later, but I mean, I would rate Paul Cotter's first 7 games as a New Jersey Devil with an A plus plus, and then I would probably stick Stefan Nason just because similar profile to the guy right behind him with a B plus A minus for his start.
Yeah, I would say, if we're gonna get into stock up guys, yeah, I think Paul Cotter is number one. I think, he's earned that time where he first got bumped from the fourth line to the third line, and that third line looked excellent with him, Cotter, Hala, and Nason. They were the ones getting a bulk of the goals early in the season, and you brought up him getting time now with Jack Hughes and Jesper Brad. I mean, just one game, but they look, in sync with each other. And Paul Cotter gets another goal, driving into the slot. And I think,
Mm-hmm.
that's something that's kind of been missing. Obviously, Timo Meyer does that, but he wants to shoot the puck a lot. So now that, you stick Cotter on the wing with Hughes and Bratt, he'll kind of go clean up whatever's left over from what Hughes and Bratt shoot on net. And we saw that last night where he's just driving the net and he just finishes the garbage. Call him the
Mm-hmm.
garbage man, man. That's what I say. Some guys are just garbage men. They'll clean up whatever you leave over, and that's not a knock on Tony. He's got 5 goals already, so
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anybody saw this coming. And if you can pencil in Paul Cotter for 20 goals a season, I think you take that any day of the week. So. He's got 2 game-winning goals already. He's averaging
Mm-hmm.
13, 18 time of ice. And you said 20 hits already. I think he's going to be one of the guys we look back on and say, wow, that was a massive, massive trade piece that Tom Fitzgerald brought in the offseason.
100%, 100%. And Stefan Nason, on the other hand, is a guy that we're already been familiar with for Devils fans. Scored a big goal in the 2018 playoffs to help the Devils win Game 3 of that series against the Lightning. And he's a classic garbage man, right?
Yeah.
That goal that he scored on the Casey assist against Utah was
Yep.
just cleaning up the puck in front of the net. Spoke to Seamus Casey after that game. He called Stefan Nason a magnet for things in front of the net. He was just like, I'm just glad I got the puck through because I knew Nason was going to be there. Um, Seeing him come back was such a delight. I mean, we praise that move over the summer because we know what he can provide, and it's something that the Devils have seriously been missing. Now he's 31. He's been on a winning team in this division for the Hurricanes for the past few seasons and has gotten a taste of consistent playoff hockey. This is a guy who's also just equally invaluable. I've loved his game so far back in the red and black of New Jersey, not Carolina. So let's talk about some of these new blue liners because now we've got a big discussion, huge discussion. It's what everybody's been talking about. Um, this blue line is getting real tight up there. It's getting real tight. These are some. I don't know if I've ever seen the Devils' defense situation have this good of a problem. I try to think back into the days of the mid 2000s, the earliest Devils teams that I can remember personally that had incredible defensemen on it. Rafalski, Niedermeyer, Tommy Albaline, Vladimir Malakoff. I'm trying to think. I don't know if that blue line, for as good as those guys were, went as deep as this 2024-25 blue line does. There is 8 defensemen on this team. The Devils could run an extra pairing if they wanted to and still have some of the best, most consistent blue line defensemen in this league. Right now, the blue line consists of Dougie Hamilton and Brendan Dillon in that first pairing. Um, the second pairing, Siegenthaler and oh my goodness, Siegenthaler
Kovacevic.
and Kovacevic, which has been the shutdown line.
Mhm.
And the third pairing is Nemec and Seamus Casey, which has been the young line. Um, you'll notice I didn't say Luke Hughes, who's still out injured. And you'll also notice that I didn't say Santeri Hataka, who's out injured. And I mean, who else is going to come into this lineup?
Brett Pesce.
Brett Pesce, one of the better defensemen in the National Hockey League, across the National Hockey League for the past 5 seasons, maybe.
Yeah.
He's been a guy who's been involved in Norris discussions potentially. He's been so good. What is this blue line going to do? Because Seamus Casey has come in and been undroppable. I don't know if this kid is ever going to see AHL ice. 3 goals and 1 assist for 4 points to open up his season. Jonathan Kovacevic, I think, is a guy that we disrespected. I know I did personally, and I'm sorry to Kovechkin because
Yeah.
he is a demon out there, man. I was like, this guy is going to be the 7th D man, the guy who has a little bit more
I think we all
experience than
thought that, to be
yeah.
honest.
Then he has a little bit more experience than the guys like Hughes and Casey, than Nemec. So he's a valuable guy that you're going to have in and out of the lineup at 27 years old. But he's not only been great defensively, he's got a goal and 4 assists. He's
Yeah.
got 5 points. He's been balling out. You can't take this guy out of the lineup. Casey, you can't take out of the lineup. I think all last year we were starting to say that Sima Nemec was never going to play another AHL game. But with Luke Hughes coming back, Brett Pesce coming back, and give those guys all the time they need to heal, by the way.
Yep.
With those guys coming back, Sheldon Keefe's got to make the first real tough decision of his tenure behind the bench of the New Jersey Devils.
Yeah, you brought it up, man. I mean, there's 9 guys that could realistically play NHL minutes with this team. And obviously, shout out to Santeri Ataka. He's going to miss a bunch of time with that shoulder injury. He's already has surgery. So, rest up, buddy. Come back whenever you're ready. But we'll get to the 8 guys that are going to be here in the next month. Brett Pesce is probably going to be the first one back. And, we'll probably see one of the young guys, get knocked out of the lineup. And, I would say probably right now, you would have to say it's Nemec. But let's just talk about Seamus Casey for a bit. Started off the season very hot. He's got the 3 goals, the 1 assist. He's a +2. But he is only averaging 12:35 of ice time. He's got 7 giveaways, and And let's talk about those 7 giveaways because, a couple of giveaways last game against Ottawa, and he's benched for, two different separate times in the second period and the third period. So, obviously he still has a ton of work to do defensively, break out, getting his feet underneath him in the pro games though. Just remember, he's playing college hockey. He's only 7 games into his career. So I think once everybody's fully back, I still am under the impression that he should go down to Utica and get first line pair minutes. Go let him go play 20 minutes down in Utica and be that first power play unit. Let him get some penalty kill minutes as well down there, and let him build himself up to where he is that all around guy that he can put up those points, but then also not be a giveaway machine so far early this year and play a regular amount of minutes in the NHL. I don't. What do you think about those giveaways that we've seen early in the season?
Well, if I'm looking at giveaways amongst defensemen, you know who's number one and two? Hamilton and Siegenthaler.
Yeah.
So while I think it's an occupational hazard of being a defenseman, right? Ironically enough, those two guys lead the Devils in time on ice.
Yep.
So I think that's where you see some of those giveaways becoming a little bit more impactful. As for Casey, I think the production's been too good. I think this Devils team really misses him if he goes down to Utica. As much as I do think it could be to his own benefit long term, um, I think it's really tough to circle his name right now amongst the 6D men and say you got to come out of the lineup. I know Pesci and Hughes are coming back, so two guys got to go, and I'm sure it's going to be both him and Nemeth. And what's good about that is if it has to be those two, those guys can continue to play together. They can be the best AHL pairing defensively of all time. They I just think, and I think this is something that Simon Nemec could benefit from as well. And he's even younger than Casey. He's not a finished product either. I think him getting a little bit more used to being responsible defensively, being a fully polished two-way guy for either of these guys could be beneficial. Um, I do think it hurts the Devils though. I think Seamus Casey coming out of the lineup, Simon Nemec, if he comes out of the lineup, uh, I'm not saying that Brett Pesci is going to be worse than either of those two, but we've seen Luke Hughes go through some of these similar growing pains to Casey in terms of giveaways, in terms of bad changes, in terms of positioning, D zone discipline. These guys are going to have long, amazing careers, probably for this team, hopefully for this team. But those three, none of them are finished products yet. I think defensively, we've seen Nemeth be the most mature, but I think Casey might be as one of the smaller guys might be more clever in terms of how he plays his game. He's effective in ways that other defensemen aren't just because he's a unique build as a D-man. I think his offensively, he's not as good of a skater as Luke Hughes, obviously, but his ability with the puck might be the best of all three. And these are three guys who this Nemeth, who was a second overall pick, and Hughes, who was a fourth overall pick. So that's saying a lot. This is a problem of riches for Sheldon Keefe.
Yeah.
I do not envy him at all. I absolutely am totally okay that I don't have to be the person to make this decision. But if I were, I think it would have to be Casey and Nemeth to come out when it's Pesci and Hughes back, which keep those two together and help them become great two-way defensemen long term in their careers.
Yeah, I will say I think it's easier to make this decision as well for Fitzgerald at least because they're kind of easy replacements. Like Luke Hughes replaces Seamus Casey. Two offensive
Mm-hmm.
defensemen. Like one already has put up 50 points in a season. Um, I think that's kind of an easy interchangeable piece. So Luke Hughes goes in for Casey, and then Brett Pesci comes in for Nemec. Obviously, Brett Pesci will be higher up in the lineup than
Mm-hmm.
Nemec, so that kind of bumps down, I would say, Kovacevic a bit. So maybe you see a Kovacevic and Hughes third pairing. I mean, that's a pretty good third pairing if you ask me.
Mm-hmm.
The only question is, I would say, is who's the extra defenseman? Because if you send both Nemec and Casey down, there's no seventh D man. So unless you want to call up like a D Simone to take that spot, and then you send Casey and Nemec down to get some minutes, I'd say that probably could be the plan. Until Ataka comes back, and Ataka's probably that seventh D since he's not waiver eligible. But I think, as you said, man, this is a good thing to have, like that you have all these D men that could easily be in the NHL for certain teams. Like, Seamus Casey probably played first pair of minutes for Chicago.
Yeah.
So I think, let those guys go get their minutes. As you said, let them go play like 25 minutes a game down in Utica. Obviously, they've only played 2 games, but they've struggled a bit.
Mhm.
So we'll see what this have. It's obviously, right now they're fine. But I'd say in a month's time, maybe a bit, shorter for Pesci, but a month's time for Luke Hughes to be fully healthy. We'll see some decisions to be made. But other than that, what any other stock ups for you to start the season?
Well, we talked goaltenders.
Hmm.
We did mention how good Markstrom's been, with the exception of that game against Toronto. Jake Allen getting a shutout against Utah, and how he's been good
Hmm.
in his two appearances to this point of the season. So we already did touch on it. We had goaltenders listed for this. Special teams, though, let's talk a little bit about that. The power play off to a bit of a slow start. Had some moments, had that good 5-on-3 goal against Carolina, had a
Yeah.
couple of goals against Utah. Although one was on a 4-on-4v4, and Hamilton had just come out of the box to make it a power play. So not a real power play goal, but it still counts.
Count
And
it.
the penalty kill, on the other hand, has been
Very good.
preventing goals at a clip of around 90%, amongst the top 7 in the league, the last I checked. I will get the numbers on that. But I think that's a lot of that has got to come from this new emphasis on physicality. The Devils are being a good team in the corners, which is something that they really weren't last year or the year before when they were successful. A team that struggled to win battles. They're doing a better job at that. Um, and I just think that having the penalty kill be an asset for this team is huge. Considering that we've been victimized, not that we've ever had a disastrously bad penalty kill, but this team has been victimized for spending too much time in the penalty box. They've been better in discipline as well. But just having that to your arsenal, it can only be a good thing, for even for how as bad as the power play has been at times.
Yeah, and I'll say this. I mean, them only giving up 2 goals in the first 7 games of the season. This is the fourth time that's ever happened in the history of the Devils. The other 3 times is 22-23. You know how good that season was. 99-2000. You know how good that season was. And then
Hmm.
97-98. I mean, we saw the biggest need last year was just better guys in their own zone, and I think they've done that. I mean, obviously Siegenthaler looks a bit, you know, he's getting positive regression in his game. Um, you bring in Kovacevic, who's kind of a dark horse. Now he's like a guy that you can't even take out of the lineup. He's been playing very good. I mean, he's playing 21 and a half minutes a game, and he's almost playing 3 minutes of penalty kill time, and that's up almost 45 seconds than what he was getting last year in Montreal. So obviously the coaching staff see a lot of good things out of him, and that's great to see that at least the penalty kill is off to a good start, almost clicking at 90%. So I've loved what I've seen from them. Obviously the goaltending is a big difference for the penalty kill as well, keeping some high danger chances out of the net as well. So I think, only 7 games, but I think this could be a top penalty kill in the league this year.
Yeah, I think just going back a year ago, it's not that it was a weakness of the Devils. The Devils' penalty kill was 10th in the league. Power play was 13th. This year, their power play struggling at 16%, just middle of the road, but the penalty kill in sixth at 89.5%. And you mentioned the personnel. I think you just look at the players this Devils team has. Their penalty kill is a pretty good group of four, no matter who they've got out there. I mean, the defensemen between between Siegenthaler, Kovacevic, Nemeth, and I guess we've seen a lot of Brendan Dillon and Dougie Hamilton out there as well to kill penalties. Um, the forward cores are usually pretty impressive in their own right.
Yeah.
Bastian with a shorthanded goal against the Senators, finally settling in, it looks like, for Big Bass. Nico Hischier and Jesper Bratt often play together on a penalty kill pairing. Nico Hischier, his face-off percentage up there at 58% once again, and Bratt just being a great two-way forward. He's just blossomed into a guy that you can rely on both ends of the ice. Stefan Noesen is a guy that you see often on penalty kills, just a great guy defensively blocking shots. Erik Haula, face-off winner as well, a guy who will
Yep.
block a bunch of shots too, has been a defensive monster in addition to having 5 assists, or I believe 5 points, excuse me, on the season. So a lot to like from really the Devils' middle six, and in terms of killing penalties. The power play, you'd expect it to be better with just the
Yeah.
sheer amount of scoring skill that these guys have on the top end. We saw the change about 5 games in of Stefan Noesen coming to be the net front on that power play unit
We
one, and
talked
that's
about
something that
this. We
we
talked
did talk
about
about.
this.
This something we've been asking for. Um, Having Dougie Hamilton at the point is great as a right shot, but when you got 4 lefties in front of him, it gets really hard to complete cross ice
Yeah.
passes, and it was pretty disjointed. Timo Meyer has looked the most out of place in terms of the forwards on that first pairing. I feel bad for him that he has to go play on that second pairing because the quality just drops so much. The fact that he's there brings that quality up. Noesen in front of the net is a very valuable piece to have, in my opinion, not only because he's a right-handed player and can add another element of pass catching that they didn't have prior, but he's a magnet in front of the net. He's been a great net front presence guy. He's a physical guy. He's going to create a lane in front of the net where he can deflect pucks, get on the end of rebounds, but also screen the netminder. And this will give room for Hughes and Bratt to skate on the off wing and on each side on the half wall, because there's going to be more attention in front of the net with Noesen there and Hischier in the slot. So for me, this is a good dynamic to have on the power play. I think they're going to start trending in the right direction. Unfortunately for Timo Meyer, though, that means playing with the likes of Tatar and Mercer and Haula on that second pairing, on that
Yeah.
second grouping.
I'll say this, obviously it sucks that you can't fit everybody on one, power play unit, but I think this just allows Timo to be, the guy on that second pair. Obviously, they don't get as much time as that first unit does, but now you'll have him in his spot on that on his off wing on the half wall. He'll be able to get more shots on net instead of being in the slot, kind of just standing there waiting for a pass. Now the puck will be on his stick most of the time, probably go between him and Casey. So, it is what it is. You can't fit everybody on one unit. And I kind of like this for him. I feel like that will, allow him to open up more. And we kind of saw that on the Haula scored the first goal, right? Yeah, Haula scored the first goal right after the power play ended. That's Timo Meyer taking it down the right wall. And he passes it to Kovacevic, who gets a shot on net, and Haula redirects it. So I think we'll see some good things from Timo on that second unit.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope that that's something that he can kind of put on his shoulders and embrace the responsibility of. So we mentioned that power play. We're in the stock down section of the show now, unfortunately. We talked about Andre Palat finding a home on that fourth line in the final year of that big contract. Kind of feels like the clock's running out on how
It's not the final year
impactful
yet.
he can be.
He's
It's not
got
the final year?
no. It's
I
the
thought this year was the final year.
It's the
Is there another
final.
option?
No. So it's the final year before his full no trade or full no move is up. He still has like 2 years left,
Oh, okay.
2 or 3 years
My
left.
apologies.
Yeah. So, yeah, if we want to get into this, obviously the fourth line has not been good in itself. For whatever reason, it's just not mixing and matching together. They're not meshing together. And I don't know if it's all on Palat, but Palat's the only guy with a minus rating this year. He just hasn't looked good. And maybe we get to a point where he has to, be an extra where he sits down. Obviously, there's nobody to take his spot right now because obviously McDermott's the only extra, skater available. But maybe once you get closer to the trade deadline, he could be a guy that, he's rotating in and out of the lineup, depending on who's hot and who's not. But, it sucks that he's making all that money and can't produce, I guess, not even be like a net neutral, like net positive type of guy. But I don't know. We'll see what's going on with that. What have your thoughts been of that fourth line so far?
I thought it was honestly a problem before Palat joined it, so I can't place the blame on him.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, I think having him and Nathan Bastian on the ice together, um, I don't mean to levy any disrespect at either of those two players, but um, Bastian already needs kind of to be surrounded by guys that can elevate his game.
yeah,
Andre Palat's not that. He kind of needs to be surrounded by guys who elevate his game as well. He's gotten to that point in his career. And Curtis Lazar, for as much as I love him, is not the guy to do that for both of them. I think Lazar
no,
provides a lot of cover for Bastian defensively, where he doesn't have to be the guy who's constantly fighting for pucks. But we've seen that fourth line get pinned in the zone too many times. Good teams have taken advantage of when those guys are on the ice. So
yeah.
it's been a problem. It's been a real problem. Moving forward, what does that look like? Does that mean Nathan Bastian have to coming out of the lineup sometimes? Yeah, I think it will have to look like that, and I think that Palat's going to have to be a little bit more impactful in terms of helping that line keep the puck in the offensive zone when they do get it out, because Nathan Bastian and Curtis Lazar are not guys who are going to be holding on to the. That's a dump and chase line, and that's not a system where Palat's going to be successful. He's a puck possession guy through and through. He is an old school in that way, old school Detroit Red Wings style in that way. I don't know if I see a future for that three together, for those three together. Um, but I think that there's a place for each of them to be successful. I think if Palat can, you know, start to mesh better with perhaps Halla and Nason, I think there could be room for him on the third line, and Cotter stays permanently next to Hughes. And then I don't know, you figure Tatar on the fourth line can be a guy who plays a bit more dump and chase and can get some more out of Lazar, can hold the puck on the half wall, fire shots off that Bastian can get in front of and Lazar can clean up. I think there's opportunity between this group of guys to find a system that works, but for now it's just not working. I think Palat and Bastian need more help than they're getting from Lazar, which could mean that one or both of those guys draw out of the lineup sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I think, the that's probably the main topic for Fitzgerald, probably going into like the trade deadline or whenever he wants to do like, trades to improve the team. I think that's probably the number one place he's got to look at it is that fourth line and getting an extra man in there that can hold his own with Lazar and whoever's next to him, whether that's a Palat or a Bastion. You go ahead.
I have a hypothetical for you. The
All right.
Devils have nine NHL caliber defensemen right now. Do you trade one of those guys to bring in a really good scoring forward who plays with a right shot that can be penciled into your top six, and then you drop down a guy like Tatar to the fourth line and draw Palat or Bastion out of the lineup? Is that something you would explore, or is that too similar to Tyler Toffoli and not going to work?
Yeah, I would probably hold off on that just because, defensemen are hard to get. Like
Mm-hmm.
to have this type of depth, especially two guys that, they are waiver eligible and they can go up and down wherever they need to. Like that's like a luxury in itself. And just to say, hypothetically, Kovacevic is the guy because I don't know who else you're trading. Um, so like, are you just gonna, flip Kovacevic? You obviously traded a fourth for him, so you're gonna flip him for a guy that is gonna be here. Would that guy be here for 1 year? Or is it multiple years?
Ideally, it's someone that you have. I mean, maybe a rental. You wouldn't trade Kovacevic for a rental, I don't think, at this
My
point.
my only thing is I would keep the depth because you already got two prospects coming over, at the end of the season that could, contribute down the stretch to the playoffs, or in the playoffs, and then next year you can insert both of them into the lineup, and then what are you gonna do if you just traded for another guy? Now you're kind of holding them out of the lineup. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I would say it's probably just cheaper to go get a guy that's a third line guy that will play on your fourth line and make that elevate that fourth line a bit more. A guy that's I would say has more foot speed than a Nathan Bastian. A more defensively sound guy than a Nathan Bastian. So, well, we'll see. That's for the future. That's for future Dan and James to talk about.
Hmm.
We'll just
Just a
focus.
hypothetical, just a
Yeah.
fun one.
So, I mean, obviously, we'll see where that goes, but obviously the fourth line has been struggling. Maybe they turn it around. And obviously, it's only been 7 games. Um, Things could change. So, well, any other stock downs for you?
Well, I think that roughly covers the stock down discussion. I mean, guys that are being kept out of the lineup because of this: Nolan Foote, Nick DeSimone, guys you wrote down here.
Yep.
I'm I it's stock down by default,
Yeah.
really. I think there's a world in the future where a healthy Brett Pesci and a healthy Luke Hughes cause Nemitz and Casey to go down to Utica where they'll, be playing every day. Nick DeSimone could be the seventh D man. You maybe could bring him up. You mentioned that Nolan Foote could eventually draw into the lineup, and Bastian takes a step out, or there could be injury. I think his name is probably the first call. So unfortunate for those guys, but their stock is down.
Yeah.
And I think it's a microcosm of what we've been talking about in terms of the shuffling of that fourth and third line. But we've seen changes in the top six as well. The initial first line of the season with Hughes, Bratt and Meyer no longer together. Heishier initially with Mercer and Tatar. There's been some changings there of the groupings. What do you make of the new pairings, and just shed some light on what's happening?
Yeah, kind of I brought this up at least in the preseason. I just never thought Meyer would be able to work with
I did not either.
with Brad or Hughes. Just for whatever reason, they just last year they just didn't mesh together. And then whenever Meyer plays with Heischer, it just awakens him. I don't know if it's just playing with a guy that he's known a lot through his life, over in Switzerland or whatever it is, his playing style. He's more two-way. And Meyer can be, shot happy on that line because obviously, Brad Hughes want to pass the puck in between each other, and now Meyer could be that guy that, he what he was in San Jose is he took a lot of shots. So now with maybe being on that line with Mercer and Heischer, he can be that guy again. So we'll see with that. And then I think the Tar just going down to the third line, I think that's where, you know, the depth shows that he could be a guy that could play up, but he can also be a guy that plays down. And I think he kind of fits that Holla and Nason line pretty well. I think Holla and Nason are gonna be on a line together, you know, throughout the season. I think it just depends on who else is on that wing, but I think they can play well no matter who that is. So I think Tatar can bring a bit of an edge that, or a bit more scoring to that line that they didn't have already, even though they're the ones that are top of the team in scoring so far this season.
Yeah, I mean that group has been Paul and Nason have been more than impressed by what they've been able to provide. They've been overdoing it. I think Cotter playing next to Hughes and Bratt, we talked about that for a minute. It just makes sense with the way Cotter has started this year off, flying through the
Yep.
neutral zone, being a really great rush forward, as well as providing physicality. It's really just about how can we find something better to come out of this fourth line. I think the lines look as they should, based on how everybody's performed to this point of the season.
Hmm.
And Nico playing next to Timo is something that we both said should have started from the get go. Why not try out playing Meyer next to Hughes and Bratt, your two other best forwards? It makes sense to try it.
Yep.
Um, But this is mostly what the first line looked like last year: Heishier, Mercer, Meyer, and then Hughes, Bratt. It was with Holla for a lot of that season. A lot of Toffoli played with this group, and that really, at even strength, never really looked great. So Paul Cotter sliding in there. I have no issues with these top three lines. Fourth line, going to have to figure something out. But that's just how the cookie crumbles. I think Sheldon Keefe figuring out his team. Again, is going to have to make his first really tough decision when some of those defensemen get
Yeah.
healthy. That pretty much brings us up to speed in terms of what's going on at the NHL level. But Dan, you, as you often do, want to fill us in on what's going on with some of the youngsters across the Devils multiverse.
Yeah, I'll say first of all, Utica just got underway last weekend, and they struggled. I'm not gonna lie, they struggled. They only scored one goal in two games, and they gave up a lot of goals. So we'll see how Kevin Dineen kind of turns that ship around. Nico Dawes does not look good to start the year. Um,
And neither has Akira Schmid in AHL for the Vegas. Or are they Vegas? The Silver Knights? Are they technically Vegas?
Henderson
Henderson.
Silver Knights or
Um,
something like that. Yeah.
yeah, he did not look great in his first start. Save percentage of like 860 something, I want to say.
Yeah, so Nico Dawes gotta, pick his game up or he's gonna lose his spot to Isaac Poulter. College season's underway. The Devils have a only they actually only have, I believe, one forward that in college right now, and that's Samu Solomon, who actually transferred to Denver. So shout out to him. He scored his first goal of the season. And then the other guys are defensive prospects that I'm keeping an eye on. But let's go over to Europe, man. Back to Europe, and we have to keep talking about our two best prospects right now, and that's Arseny Gritsyuk and Lenny Hamanaho, and then both of them are clicking at a point a game right now, and it's crazy to see because you know Gritsyuk obviously he's playing on first line for SKA St. Petersburg over in the KHL, but he just looks like he's taking that next step right now. He's got 17 points on the season in 16 games, playing about 15 and a half minutes so far this year. I don't know if that's, based on he's not playing penalty kill. And I think they have taken a lot of penalties, so maybe that's inflated that way. But he's looked good. All the clips that we see, his skating is just, it's pure. His shot is so butter. I mean, he's just gonna I I really just imagine him with this team in the top six, and I just I've fallen in love so many years ago, and we're getting so much closer. We're so close to him being over here finally. Um, what have you liked about Gritsyuk's game so far?
Well, first, let me backpedal something I said earlier in the show.
Mm.
We don't need to go out and buy a top six forward because I
Yeah, that
fully
that
forgot that we had this guy. Um, I I can't get enough of the clips either. I think that with the extra ice, even the fact that he is just his shot is just wicked. It's howitzer after howitzer.
yeah.
He's he's not a guy that is going to go coast to coast and steal goals for us at the NHL level, but he is a guy that if he plays next to a Jack Hughes, plays next to a Jesper Bratt,
Oh.
plays next to a Nico Hischier, is gonna enter the zone late and have some space to shoot on the half wall on the top of the
Mm.
circle, and he's going to make goalies look foolish. I think this is a guy who's going to fit right in, and I'm ashamed that I forgot that we have him. We don't need to go out and buy forwards. He is left. He's a left shot though. I mean, at some point we're gonna have to get a righty because too many passes are gonna be to some guy's backhand at some point. I know that sounds silly, like these are pros, but it does help to have right-handed defensemen play on the right side, left-handed defensemen play on the left side, and to have different looks when you're going at goal. I think that having Gritsyuk at the NHL level finally um, is going to it's going to be one of those mid-season player acquisitions, so to speak, that fans remember for a long time as this was a turning point in our year.
And I'll say this, like, people might think that he's like a 20, 21-year old, but he's actually going to be 24 when he comes over. He turns 24 in March, and that's about around where their season ends. I think it's like March or April. And then maybe if they get to the final, I think it's May. but it's around then that he'll be able to come over, and he'll be 24. Like he's the same age as Jack Hughes, same draft class. Obviously Jack Hughes went first overall. Gritzuk went in the fifth round. I mean, can we talk about that? How he's developed from a fifth round pick. Obviously, Russian players do fall in the draft sometimes because they don't come over for, what is this, 5 years? Um, but just shout out to the Russian scouting for the Devils because this guy looks really good. And then another guy that looks really good, Lenny Hamanaho. I mean, at
Yeah.
least he gave me a birthday gift. He got 2 goals. The
He
Mets
he
the,
he
the Mets didn't want to do anything, but Lenny Hamanaho gave me a 2 goal game. So
does he score every game? Because every other day I see a clip of a new goal that he has scored.
well, I'll say this. He went a bit cold for goal scoring for a couple games, but he's 6 goals, 7 assists in 13 games right now. But the thing about him is he's playing a lot. Like at least for like a Liga forward that I've seen from the Devils in recent years, he's playing 18 and a half minutes. He's a +7. And
His point per game.
yeah, and I forgot to say Gritsuk's a +11 right now. So
Mhm.
I mean, to add these two type of players to a roster that's already kind of, almost like complete is such a huge thing. Especially there, obviously Grisiak's going to sign like a certain deal where it expires kind of early because obviously he's 24, and that's what those Russian type of players do, so they can get to their second contract. But to have Lenny Hamanaho on an ELC for 3 years, I mean, he could easily be a 50-point guy coming straight over from Liga. Obviously, there's gonna be, a bumps in here and there because obviously he's got to get used to the ice and the play style. But I mean, he plays that type of game already. Like one of his goals, his first goal from last game, he's driving the net full speed and he's tapping it in at the far post. I mean, you don't really see that much from the Devils other than Mercer. Mercer's driving the net. Now
I
Cotter
see.
actually is driving
I
the
was
net.
I,
I
w-
mean, yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say I see a lot of similarity between Hemanaho and Mercer in terms of how they go about scoring their
And he's a
goals.
righty. He's a righty.
And he's a right shot is what I was gonna say next. Um, when is the earliest that Lenny can come over? Because I know Gritsuk is just right around the corner.
I believe Lenny's contract is up after this year. Let me make sure.
Because
Uh,
if he can come quickly, who are the two guys in the forward crew that now come out of lineup? Is it just Bastion and Palat?
yeah, I think even if like they didn't have guys ready to come in next year, I think Palat was already going to be traded to,
Hmm.
get whatever money they can off the books. Whatever they're probably going to have to retain on that. But, you
Probably
know,
half.
yeah, his contract is up in Liga after this year. So he'll be right now he's 19. He'll be 20 in November. So like
He's
like
got time.
he's already playing that mature type of game, and to have again, I I can't, specify this enough to have those two type of players like, come in and give some new blood, Obviously him and Aho is going to be 20 coming into next year. Obviously Gritsiuk's 24. They fit right into the core. I mean,
Hmm.
so it's good to see you bring up him and Aho looking like Mercer. I mean, yeah, man, he plays that type of style. He's in the corners battling for the puck. I mean, he got in a I believe he got an overtime assist battling along the boards and springing the puck loose. I mean, he does everything for his team over there, and I can't wait for him to come over too because he can easily be um one of the guys in that middle six that could play up and he could play down. So
Hmm.
yeah, he's a good pick. He was the second round pick in 2023. So remember when we traded that first round pick to San Jose for Timo Meyer? Our first pick was Lenny Hamanaho, and him playing the way he is, I can't believe he actually fell out of the first round. So,
Yeah, that is a spectacular one.
and then I'll hit on two kind of lesser known prospects. Actually, one was drafted this year in the third round, Herman Trapp. He was actually loaned to the second division in Sweden to for I believe it was going to be for half the season until 2025 started. For whatever reason, he got called back up to the first division at HV71. He hasn't gone back since, and he's got 4 points in 6 games. 18-year-old, he's 6'3", right-handed shot. Um, he looks like he's gonna stay in the SHL for the rest of the season. I don't think he's going back. He's playing, where is it at right here? He's playing about 13 minutes per game, and for an 18-year-old, that's pretty good. For 18-year-old to have that much time on ice is pretty good. 6'3",
Yeah.
he's heavy. He
Oh,
throws the body around. He's already got a power play goal in the first division. His shot was his shot was pretty good. So for an 18-year-old, he'll be playing in the SHL for a couple of years before he comes over. But if he's getting all this game time as an 18-year-old, I can't wait to see what he can do the next couple of years before he comes over to North America.
yeah. I think just anybody who's playing. I mean, this is the same. I don't mean to sound like Rangers fans. He's playing against men. I don't mean to do that. But it is something that does provide a good measure
Mm.
for how quickly a guy can adapt to the NHL. Not always. In Capo Caco's case, not a
Yeah.
great not a great indicator, but in other players' cases, yes. And you said you had one more name you
Yes.
needed to get through?
Yes, and this isn't the biggest name, and he won't make the biggest impact offensively. But I want to bring up Max Graham. He was, I forget what, I think he was a sixth-round draft pick this year, as an overager. So he's already 20 years old. He plays in Kelowna in the WHL, actually named captain of the Kelowna Rockets. And
Mhm.
after he was sent back there after training camp, because obviously the Devils had a longer training camp with their younger players than they normally would. He's played 4 games, has three points, and is a +3, 28 penalty minutes. He has 2 fights already. And I believe he got a 10-minute game misconduct already. So he is going to be a guy that I could see slide into the fourth line in the future. Funny thing is, he plays first line minutes. Um, Obviously, he doesn't have the points that Tij Iginla. I think people know who Tij Iginla is.
Mhm.
And Andrew Cristal, who's actually a second round pick as well. Like he's playing with two highly skilled guys on that first line. And he takes faceoffs here and there. I believe he's just over 50%, or maybe he's just under. But he's definitely a guy that could bring that sandpaper in the future. I mean, already a captain. He can produce goals in front of the net. He's throwing hits. Obviously, they don't, for whatever reason, only one of the CHL teams that has the Devils prospect records hits. Everybody else doesn't. Um, but yeah, I think this guy could be a small piece to what could make them successful in the future. And Max Graham looks pretty good right now in Kelowna. So he's someone that's under the radar, very under the radar. I'm gonna say it's gonna take a couple of years before he gets to the NHL, but he brings that leadership, he brings that fighting edge. He's another tall, big guy, and I like what I've seen from him so far.
Yeah, a big presence, really. That's probably what he would be most known for, I would say,
Yep.
the penalty minutes for sure. Projected, according to Elite Prospects, at least 48 points in 64 games this year for Kelowna. That would have 32 goals attached to it. Now that's a big if he hits these projections, but he has been consistently progressing in that way. 10
Mhm.
goals in 2022, 13 in 2023, and 20 in 2024. Having the A the past 2 seasons and the C this season. This is the type of player that if can continue to progress, I think, yeah, 2-3 years down the line from perhaps becoming an NHL regular. This is a guy who, under the radar, it may be, is still going to be playing important minutes for this team in the W now, for one more season at a full clip. And this is a team that is good in the W that's going to go to the playoffs and have a deep run. So that kind of experience is
I
invaluable.
mean, it shocked me to see that he was playing first line minutes with Tij Iginla. Like Tij Iginla went
Mhm.
sixth overall. We were thinking that we might have been able to get him at 10th overall. Obviously, he went to Utah. And then Cristal, like he's one of the better point getters on that team. So him playing with those type of players, I think even though it might be a long shot, maybe gives him that experience to come in here, whether he is playing on that fourth line and maybe injuries happen, he could go up and play, second line minutes with someone, a third line minutes, because he is playing with that skill in the W. So, I think, having that leadership, him playing already with skill guys, even though he might not be the best skill guy, like, you still got to be good enough to play with those guys. They're not just going to put you on a line just to be on a line. So, I'm gonna be keeping my eye on him this year. So
Yeah, and again, while Traff and Max Graham might not be the two guys on the highest on the list of prospects, it's a good reminder that this Devils team's got talent all over the world,
yep,
young talent in many different places. And of course, we're also going to keep our eyes open for the arrival of Arseny Griciuk and how good Lenny Hemenaho continues to be. That's pretty much all the time we have for Puck on the Parkway this week, though. The Devils will be back in action tomorrow night at the Rock against the Capitals, and then again on Tuesday against the Lightning. I will try to be there on Tuesday. I don't think I can be there tomorrow because of
nope,
the New York Red Bulls game.
yep.
And then they go back on the road for a quick trip to Detroit before another homestand over the weekend against the Islanders and the Ducks. And then right before Halloween, they head out to Western Canada for 3 games against Vancouver, Calgary, and Edmonton. And final words before we close, Daniel.
Nah, man, I'm just glad to see that early in the season we have some winning hockey. Obviously, they still have to take that step that we talked about earlier this year. We'll see what they do against the Lightning because that's still they're still the Lightning. So, I'm interested to see what they do on Tuesday. But other than that, man, I'm liking what I've seen so far from Sheldon Keefe. They're winning games without Jack Hughes being over a point a game player. So imagine what this team could look like when he finally explodes onto the scene.
Yeah, hopefully we're not still talking about his lack of production in a week or 2 weeks time. And maybe we don't have to ask the questions like, is Sheldon Keefe getting the best out of Jack Hughes?
Yeah.
Hopefully, we resolve those questions before they come up. So for James Burley and Daniel Rebane, thank you guys so much for joining Puck on the Parkway. We will see you guys next time, and let's go Devils.
And let's go Mets.